Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Science Channel. Tonight, we are going to talk about something very close to you, closer than your pillow, closer than your blanket. We are going to talk about the quiet field of energy that surrounds your body, your biofield, and its beautiful, ancient connection to the earth beneath you and the stars far above. It is a story that begins inside you and expands slowly, like rings on a still pond, all the way out to the edges of the universe. Let it wash over you like warm water. Every living thing on this planet is surrounded by a soft envelope of energy. Scientists who study the human body have found that your heart, your brain, your skin, all of them constantly produce tiny electrical and magnetic fields that extend outward into the space around you. This is not something poetic or imagined. It can be measured with sensitive instruments. Your body, right now, as you lie still and breathe slowly, is quietly humming with its own gentle energy that reaches beyond the edge of your skin. The word biofield simply means the field of life. Bio, life. Field, an invisible region where forces are felt. Like the way a magnet pulls iron filings without touching them, your body creates a region of influence around itself. This field is dynamic, meaning it shifts and changes with every breath, every heartbeat, every quiet thought you have. Right now, with your breathing slowing and your muscles softening, your biofield is growing calmer. You can feel it if you let yourself, a kind of settling like snow coming to rest. The heart is the strongest generator of this field in your entire body. The electromagnetic field produced by your heartbeat extends in every direction from your chest. It has been measured at distances of several feet from the body using sensitive equipment. When you are calm and your heart beats in a slow, steady rhythm, this field has a quality scientists call coherence, meaning it becomes smooth and ordered, like a perfectly tuned instrument. Coherence is the feeling you sometimes get when everything just feels right. When you are at peace, you are moving toward that now. Your brain also generates its own electrical field, smaller than the heart's, but no less real. The patterns of electrical activity in your brain, the slow rolling waves that come when you are drifting toward sleep, create their own gentle signature in the space around your head. As you relax, your brain begins to shift into what are called alpha waves, soft and unhurried, like waves rolling onto a sandy shore in the early morning. You can imagine those waves now, each one a little slower, a little wider than the one before. Every cell in your body contains what scientists call biophotons, extremely faint particles of light emitted by biological processes inside the cell. They are nearly impossible to see with the naked eye, but they are there. Your body is, in the most literal sense, glowing softly with living light. Very faint, very gentle, but present. Like the glow of a firefly held inside the palm of your hand, visible only in the deepest quiet. The Earth also has a magnetic field. It wraps around the entire planet like an invisible cocoon stretching thousands of miles into space. This field is generated deep in the Earth's core by the slow churning of liquid iron, movements that have been going on for billions of years, long before there were eyes to see or ears to hear. The Earth's magnetic field protects us from harsh radiation coming from the sun, deflecting it gently, the way a calm lake deflects wind, by simply accepting it and rippling softly. What is beautiful is this: your body's biofield and the Earth's magnetic field are not strangers. There is a kind of quiet conversation between them that has been going on since the first living things appeared on this planet. Your nervous system, your heart, even the tiny magnetite crystals found in human brain tissue, all of them are sensitive to the Earth's magnetic field in ways scientists are only beginning to understand. You are not separate from the planet. You are part of its field. There is a natural electromagnetic frequency that exists in the space between the Earth's surface and the upper layer of the atmosphere called the ionosphere. It was first calculated by a scientist named Winfried Schumann in the 1950s, and so it carries his name, the Schumann resonance. The main frequency of this resonance is approximately 7.83 cycles per second. It is a low, slow, almost imperceptible hum that the Earth has been producing for as long as lightning has been striking its surface, which is to say, for a very long time. And here is the part that makes you want to breathe slowly and feel something deep and warm. The Schumann resonance, the Earth's own electrical heartbeat, falls almost exactly within the range of human brainwave frequencies associated with deep relaxation and the early stages of sleep. The theta waves your brain produces as you drift toward dreaming sit right beside the Earth's own hum. It is as if the planet has been quietly keeping time for your sleep all along, and you are now falling into rhythm with it. Imagine that for a moment. The whole Earth, every mountain, every ocean, every quiet forest, vibrating softly at a frequency that your sleeping brain recognizes like an old lullaby. You have always known this song. You just forgot for a little while the day was loud. Now, in this stillness, you can hear it again. The skin is the boundary between your inner world and the outer world, but it is not a wall. It is more like a membrane, a soft and breathing interface. The skin conducts small electrical currents, responds to the Earth's field, and communicates information about your inner state to the world around you. When you are relaxed, the electrical resistance of your skin actually changes. It becomes a different kind of surface, more open, more receptive, like a flower that opens in the warmth. If you have ever walked barefoot on grass or sand or soil and felt something shift inside you, a loosening, a sense of coming home, there is a physical reason for that. The surface of the Earth carries a mild negative electrical charge. When your bare skin makes contact with the ground, electrons from the Earth can flow into your body. This process, sometimes called earthing or grounding, has been the subject of several scientific studies. The findings suggest that this simple contact may help bring the body's electrical environment into a more balanced state, like tuning an instrument that has drifted slightly out of key. Plants, animals, stones, everything around you on this planet is participating in the same electromagnetic conversation. Trees, for instance, have their own bioelectric signals that travel slowly up and down their trunks, communicating information about light and damage and the season. Forests, seen from the perspective of these fields, are not just collections of individual trees, but interconnected networks of living signals, all breathing and pulsing together in a way that is soft and ancient and very, very calm. If you enjoy these quiet journeys through science and nature, it would mean a great deal if you left a small comment below, even just a word about how you are feeling right now. And if this is helping you drift toward sleep, a gentle like on the video helps others find their way here too. There is a whole playlist of nights like this one waiting for you. The ocean participates in this field as well. Seawater is an excellent conductor of electricity, and the vast salt-filled bodies of ocean that cover most of our planet's surface play an important role in carrying and distributing the Earth's electromagnetic activity. When waves crash and foam, they generate tiny electrical charges. The entire surface of the sea is alive with this gentle electrical chatter, like static on an old radio that is not noise but signal, the quiet voice of water talking to the sky. Your body is made mostly of water. About 60% of your body weight on average is water held in your cells, in the spaces between cells, in your blood, in your tissues. And water, as scientists have found, is not a neutral substance inside living systems. It organizes itself around biological molecules in structured ways, forming what some researchers describe as a kind of liquid crystal. This structured water may play a role in transmitting the electrical and energetic signals that make your body function as a coherent whole, not a collection of parts, but a unified field of life. Let your awareness rest on the water inside you now, the warm rivers of it moving slowly through your veins, the gentle moisture of each breath you take. You are mostly water, and water knows how to be still. It knows how to settle. It knows how to find its level and rest there, perfectly quiet, perfectly clear. The stars far above everything are also part of this story, though their chapter comes a little later. For now, simply feel the ground beneath you, even through the softness of your bed. Feel the quiet pull of the planet holding you in place. Feel the slow beat of your own heart, steady and unhurried, sending its little wave of energy outward into the room. You are a field of life, resting inside a field of life, on a planet that has been holding living things gently in its arms for billions of years. Let that thought be like a warm blanket settling over you. There is nothing to do with it, nowhere to take it. Just let it rest on you softly as your breath slows and the night deepens around you. The night outside is very quiet now. If you listen past the small sounds of the room, the settling of walls, the distant hum of the world, you can almost hear it. that low, slow frequency the Earth has always been producing. The Schumann resonance doesn't stop when you sleep. It continues, steady and unhurried, like a pulse that has been beating since long before you were born. It will continue long after the morning comes. Right now, in this darkness, it is simply here with you, the way a river is there, even when you are not looking at it. Scientists who study the human heart have found something remarkable about the way it communicates with the brain. For a long time, we imagined that the brain was in charge, that it sent instructions to the heart, which simply obeyed. But the signals actually travel both ways, and in fact there are more neural pathways running from the heart up to the brain than from the brain down to the heart. The heart is not a passive pump. It is, in a sense, always speaking, sending information upward, influencing the brain's perception of the world, shaping the quality of your thoughts and feelings in ways that are only beginning to be understood. When the heart is in a state of what researchers call coherence, that smooth, ordered rhythm we touched on gently before, the signals it sends to the brain change in quality. The brain, receiving these calm, steady signals, responds with its own shift toward ease. It is a conversation between two organs carried on in the quiet language of electrical pulses, and when it goes well, the whole body benefits. You are having that conversation right now as your heart slows and your breath deepens. Something in you already knows how to do this. There are tiny structures in the human body called magnetosomes in some other creatures, and in humans, deposits of a magnetic mineral called magnetite have been found in certain tissues, including the brain, the heart, and the adrenal glands. Magnetite is exactly what it sounds like, a mineral that responds to magnetic fields. The same mineral is found in the brains of migrating birds, who use it to navigate across thousands of miles of open sky by sensing the Earth's magnetic field. You carry within you a version of the same quiet compass. Birds navigating by the Earth's magnetic field don't need to think about it. They simply know at some deep cellular level which way is home. That knowledge is held in the mineral and in the field, not in conscious thought. There is something deeply restful about that idea, that some things can be known without effort, felt without analysis, trusted without proof. Right now, your body knows how to rest. It doesn't need you to figure out how. It just needs you to stop and let it. The concept of a human biofield is not a new idea. Cultures around the world, over thousands of years, have described in different words the sense that living things are surrounded by something more than just physical matter. In ancient Chinese philosophy, this invisible vital energy was called qi. In Indian tradition, it was prana. In ancient Greek medicine, it was pneuma. These are different words pointing at the same quiet observation, that life comes with a field, and the field matters. Modern science is now beginning to explore what these traditions described in the language of their time. Researchers at the HeartMath Institute in California have been studying the heart's electromagnetic field for several decades. One of their findings is that the heart's field can be detected in the brain waves of another person sitting nearby. In other words, when two people are in close proximity, their fields interact. Your heart's signal can reach into someone else's nervous system without either of you doing anything consciously. When you sit quietly beside someone you love or sleep next to them, there is a physical exchange of fields taking place. You are, in a very literal sense, in each other's energy. This may be one of the reasons why human beings have always found comfort in being near other people, and why loneliness can feel like an absence not just of companionship, but of something more physical, a thinning of the field, a kind of quiet that is less like peace and more like emptiness. Connection is not only an emotion, it has a field. The moon, which you cannot see right now, but which is somewhere above you in the night, also influences the Earth's electromagnetic environment. The moon's gravity pulls on the oceans, creating tides, but it also pulls very gently on the ionosphere, creating tidal patterns in the layer of atmosphere that sustains the Schumann resonance. Some researchers have explored the idea that these lunar electromagnetic variations may influence biological rhythms in living things. Farmers have known for thousands of years that planting and harvesting in rhythm with the moon produces better results. The scientific explanation for why may lie in part in these invisible fields. Your own body has rhythms, not just the obvious ones, the heartbeat, the breath, but deeper, slower cycles. Your body temperature rises and falls over the course of the day and night. Your cortisol levels, the hormone associated with alertness and activity, peak in the early morning and fall toward evening, preparing you for rest. Your melatonin levels, the hormone that invites sleep, begin to rise as darkness falls, responding to the absence of light in a way that has been calibrated by millions of years of evolution. Your body is always cycling, always moving through its rhythms, and those rhythms are synchronized not only to the sun and moon, but, in subtle ways, to the electromagnetic environment of the planet itself. You are a rhythm nested inside a larger rhythm, inside a still larger one. The breath inside the heartbeat inside the sleep cycle inside the day inside the seasons inside the slow turning of the earth around the sun. There is no place where you end and the larger rhythm begins. You are always already inside it. Take a breath now, slowly. Feel the air cool as it enters your nose and warm as it leaves. That warmth is your body's heat, energy that came originally from the food you ate, which came from plants, which came from sunlight, which came from the nuclear reactions happening continuously inside the sun, nearly 100 million miles away. You are breathing out a piece of stellar energy. The sun is still inside you in a quiet way. The solar wind, a constant stream of charged particles flowing outward from the sun, interacts with the Earth's magnetic field continuously. When solar activity increases, the Earth's electromagnetic environment changes in response, and some researchers have found correlations between these changes and variations in human health and behavior. The sun is not a distant object. It is an active presence, in conversation with the planet and, through the planet, with every living thing on its surface. During periods of high solar activity, what are called geomagnetic storms, the Earth's magnetic field fluctuates. For most people, this goes unnoticed, but the body is not entirely indifferent. Some research suggests that our heart rate variability, the sleep-wake cycle, and even mood can be subtly influenced by these fluctuations in the field we live inside. We are not separate from space weather. We are part of the same electromagnetic story. And yet, in the long span of Earth's history, geomagnetic storms come and go like weather, temporary disturbances in a system that is fundamentally stable, fundamentally protective. The Earth's magnetic field has been deflecting the worst of the solar wind for billions of years. Under that protection, life has flourished into extraordinary complexity. You are one of the results of that protection. A mind that can lie still in the dark and think about stars. Please feel free to share this video with someone who needs a quiet night. And if you haven't yet explored the rest of the Sleepy Science playlist, there are many more gentle journeys waiting there, through forests, oceans, mountains, and the soft science of the natural world. The aurora borealis, the northern lights, is perhaps the most beautiful visible expression of the conversation between the sun and the Earth's magnetic field. Charged particles from the solar wind, guided by the magnetic field lines toward the poles, collide with molecules in the upper atmosphere and release light. The colors, green, pink, purple, white, depend on which atmospheric gases are involved and how high up the collision occurs. Seen from the ground, the aurora moves like a slow, enormous curtain of light, folding and unfolding across the sky in perfect silence. There is no sound, only light, and the dark, and the cold, and the feeling that you are watching something very large breathe. If you have ever seen the aurora, you know that it is not easy to describe what it does to you. Something settles. Some part of you that usually keeps watch on things relaxes because the display above you is so vast and so unhurried that there is no use in being tense about anything. The universe is just too big and too beautiful and too indifferent to your worries for worry to feel worthwhile. That is not a sad feeling. It is one of the most peaceful feelings there is. Your biofield is a small version of this, a soft light, a quiet presence, an invisible signature of your aliveness that reaches gently into the space around you. It does not shout. It does not demand. It simply radiates steadily, the way a warm stone radiates heat long after the sun has gone down. You have been radiating all day. Now, in this stillness, you can let yourself simply rest in your own field, held, warm, complete. The night is deep. Your breathing has slowed. The world outside is dark and quiet, and inside you, The same quietness is spreading from your chest outward through your limbs, the way warmth spreads through a room when a fire has been burning for a long time. Let it spread. There is nothing to hold on to. Everything is fine. Somewhere outside, a star is rising. You cannot see it, but it is there. One of 200 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy, each one a sun, most of them surrounded by worlds of their own. The light from the nearest star beyond our sun takes more than 4 years to reach the Earth. The light falling on you from the night sky tonight left its source long before this particular evening existed. You are being touched right now by ancient light. The electromagnetic spectrum is vast, what we call visible light. The narrow band of wavelengths your eyes can detect is only a tiny sliver of it. Radio waves, microwaves, infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays. All of these are the same kind of thing as light, just at different frequencies. The universe is filled with this radiation at every frequency, arriving from every direction. Stars produce it, galaxies produce it. Even the very early moments of the universe, the Big Bang, left behind a faint background radiation that still fills all of space today, a kind of afterglow from the beginning of time. You are bathed in it always, even though you cannot feel or see it. Your body is not invisible to this background. The cells in your body interact with electromagnetic radiation constantly. Your eyes are specialized to detect the narrow visible band. Your skin absorbs infrared radiation as warmth. Your DNA has repair mechanisms specifically evolved to deal with the ultraviolet light that reaches the Earth's surface. You are, in a very practical sense, a creature shaped by the electromagnetic environment of this universe. And that environment extends from your own heartbeat all the way to the cosmic background radiation that fills all of space. There is something called the resonance cavity between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere, the shell of charged particles in the upper atmosphere, and it acts a little like the inside of a drum. When lightning strikes the Earth, which happens about 100 times every second somewhere on the planet, it sends electromagnetic waves bouncing around inside this cavity. These waves build up and reinforce each other at certain frequencies, and those frequencies are the Schumann resonances. The Earth is always being played gently by lightning, like fingers tapping on a vast drum. 100 lightning strikes every second. It sounds like a lot, but the Earth is enormous, and most of them happen over warm ocean water and tropical forests, where the air is moist and charged with electrical potential. From where you are lying, safe and still, those distant storms are just a part of the Earth's steady electrical breathing, the way your own heart beats without your attention, without your effort, simply because it knows how. The body of a sleeping person is a beautiful thing from the perspective of physics. The breath slows to perhaps 10 or 12 cycles per minute. The heartbeat drops. The brain, transitioning from the fast, jagged activity of wakefulness, begins to show the smooth, slow waves of deep relaxation. The biofield of a sleeping body is quieter, more coherent, less reactive, like a lake in the very early morning before any wind has come, when the surface is absolutely still and you can see the reflection of the sky in perfect detail. Sleep itself is not a passive state. It is one of the most active and important things your body does. During sleep, your brain does something extraordinary. It flushes itself with cerebrospinal fluid in waves, washing away the metabolic waste products that accumulated during the day. This process, discovered relatively recently by neuroscientists, is sometimes called the glymphatic system. While you sleep, your brain is literally cleaning itself, preparing for another day of awareness. Rest is not laziness. Rest is maintenance. Rest is how the field stays clear. The pineal gland, a tiny structure deep in the center of the brain, is one of the body's most fascinating organs. It produces melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep in response to darkness. But the pineal gland is also sensitive to magnetic fields. It contains magnetite crystals, the same magnetic mineral we mentioned in birds and in other parts of the human body. Some researchers have speculated that the pineal gland may function as a kind of biological antenna, sensitive to both light and the Earth's magnetic field, helping to synchronize the body's internal rhythms with the cycles of the natural world. The pineal gland was called by the philosopher René Descartes the seat of the soul, not because of anything scientifically understood in his time, but because of its central location and its mysterious function. Whether or not that is the right way to describe it, there is something poetically fitting about the idea that the organ which guides you into sleep is also sensitive to the planet's magnetic field, that the thing that lets you rest is the same thing that connects you to the earth. Feel the center of your head for a moment. Not with effort. Just let your awareness rest there gently, like a leaf settling on still water. Somewhere in that warmth, a tiny gland is doing its quiet work, measuring the darkness, releasing its chemistry, inviting you toward sleep. You don't have to do anything. It is already happening. Trees also sleep, in a manner of speaking. Studies using laser scanning technology have shown that trees actually droop slightly at night. Their branches lower by a few centimeters as the water pressure inside the tree relaxes. They have a daily cycle of activity and rest responsive to light, just as you are. A forest at night is a collection of quietly resting organisms, each one in its own version of the same slow descent into stillness that you are experiencing right now. The forests of the world produce something else of interest in this context, an electrical phenomenon known as the atmospheric electric circuit. Trees, particularly in rainforests, act as pathways for the slow, constant electrical exchange between the Earth's surface and the atmosphere. The air itself is not electrically neutral. There is always a gradient, a gentle difference in charge between the ground and the sky, with the upper atmosphere being more positively charged and the Earth's surface slightly negative. Trees with their roots in the earth and their leaves reaching toward the sky, participate in this gradient every moment of every day. You do too, standing upright with your feet on the ground and your head in the air. Your body exists within this same vertical gradient of the atmospheric electric field. The currents are tiny, unmeasurable by ordinary means, but the field is always present. You have always been inside it, the way a fish is always inside water. It is so constant, so familiar, that it feels like nothing at all. But it is there. The water cycle, the endless movement of water from ocean to cloud, to rain, to river, and back to ocean again, is partly driven by this electrical environment. Water vapor rises in warm air, forming clouds. Clouds build charge. Lightning strikes. Rain falls. The water returns to the ocean, and the cycle continues. Every raindrop that has ever fallen on your face was part of this planetary electrical system, briefly touching the ground before returning to the sky. Water remembers where it has been, in a way. It carries the mineral signatures of the rocks it flowed through, the electrical history of the clouds it fell from. If you are enjoying this journey through the science of connection, leave a kind comment when you wake up. It means so much to know these quiet nights are being useful. The full playlist is there whenever you need it, a gentle library of slow science and soft worlds. There are forests deep enough that no human-made sound reaches them. Places where the only sounds are wind and water and the distant call of birds. In these places, if you were to sit very still, you would find yourself inside the planet's natural electromagnetic environment, almost undiluted. The Schumann resonance humming at its ancient frequency, the slow electrical conversation of trees and soil and sky proceeding without interference. People who spend time in these places often describe a profound sense of peace, of belonging, of something loosening inside them that they hadn't known was tight. That loosening is real. The nervous system, calibrated over millions of years to function inside this natural electromagnetic environment, relaxes when it finds itself there. The urban electromagnetic environment, the Wi-Fi, the radio signals, the electrical appliances, is not dangerous, but it is different. It is additional. It adds layers to the field that the body was not specifically evolved for. Returning to nature, even in imagination, even in the quiet of a darkened room, while listening to a calm voice, something in the nervous system recognizes it and softens. So, let your room be a forest, just for now. Let the walls fall away softly, like mist dissolving in morning sun. Let there be trees very far apart, very tall, their bark rough and warm with the stored sunlight. Let the ground beneath you be not mattress, but moss, that ancient, soft, electrically grounded surface that has been carpeting forest floors since before there were forests as we know them. You are lying on the earth. You are inside the field. The planet is holding you. The stars above the imaginary forest are very clear. There are so many of them. You don't need to count them or name them. Just let them be there. Light arriving from impossibly far away, from suns that will burn for billions of years. asking nothing of you. You are a small, warm, softly glowing presence in a universe of incredible size. And somehow, despite the size, you fit. You belong here. The field says so. Your eyes are heavy. The forest is quiet. The earth is humming very softly at 7.83 cycles per second, and your brain is drifting down toward that frequency, like a leaf drifting down through still water to rest at the bottom. Rest there. The field will hold you. The breath is the most immediate connection between your inner world and the outer world. With every inhale, you take the outside in. With every exhale, you send the inside out. Right now, the air you are breathing has been breathed before by people across centuries, by animals in distant forests, by the vast photosynthetic machinery of the oceans. The atmosphere is a shared medium, a commons of breath, and you are participating in it this very moment. There is oxygen in your blood right now that became part of the air because a leaf somewhere caught sunlight and split water. The sunlight came from 93 million miles away. The water came from rainfall, and before that from the ocean, and before that from rivers and snowmelt. The oxygen traveled through the atmosphere, was inhaled by you, crossed the membrane of your lungs, entered your bloodstream, and is now carried by red blood cells to the cells of your brain and body. You are the end point of a journey that began in a leaf, in sunlight, in a raindrop, in the sea. The cells of your body are each individually alive. A human body contains somewhere between 30 and 40 trillion cells, each one a complete living unit capable of generating its own energy, communicating with its neighbors, maintaining its own internal order. Each cell also emits those faint biophotons we mentioned, tiny flickers of living light. If you could see all 37 trillion cells of your body glowing at once, you would see a soft luminescence, barely brighter than the darkness around it, but real, a living light distributed through every tissue and fiber of you. The liver cells glow differently than the nerve cells. The heart cells pulse their light in rhythm with the heartbeat. The skin cells on the surface of the body release their biophotons into the air around you, and these tiny emissions contribute to the outer edge of your biofield, the soft, luminous boundary between you and the night. You are not just a body lying in a bed. You are a quietly glowing field of life, resting in a larger field of life, on a planet that is resting inside the largest field of all. The electromagnetic field of the galaxy is something that very few people think about in their daily lives, but it is real and vast. The Milky Way has its own magnetic field, threading through the spiral arms of the galaxy like slow rivers of invisible force. These galactic fields influence the motion of gas and dust, shape the birthplaces of new stars, and play a role in the long, slow evolution of the galaxy's structure. They operate on timescales so enormous, millions and billions of years, that they seem completely separate from human life. And yet, the iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the carbon in your cells, all of it was created inside stars that lived and died inside this galactic field long before the solar system existed. You are a product of galactic chemistry. The atoms of your body were forged in stellar interiors and scattered by stellar explosions across the galaxy before finding their way, eventually, to this planet, to this body, to this quiet breath you are taking right now. When you consider that, the separation between self and universe begins to feel less like a solid wall and more like the surface of a lake, a boundary that is real but permeable, a place where inside and outside touch and flow into each other. In the traditional cosmologies of many indigenous cultures around the world, this permeability was understood as fundamental. The idea that the human being is continuous with the cosmos, not a separate observer watching it from outside, but a participant woven into it, is not a primitive misunderstanding of physics. It is, in many ways, a description of what physics is slowly revealing. You are not outside the universe looking in. You are a local expression of the universe looking at itself. The heart of the Milky Way galaxy, a region of dense stars, gas, and a supermassive black hole, is located in the direction of the constellation Sagittarius. On a clear night, in a place away from city lights, you can see the faint luminous band of the galaxy arching across the sky. What you are seeing is the combined light of billions of stars, each one a sun, most too distant to be individually distinguished. It is one of the most ancient sights available to human eyes. People have looked at it for as long as there have been people. They have made stories about it, named it, navigated by it, been humbled by it. To look at the Milky Way is to feel something quiet and large settle inside you. There is a word in Japanese, komorebi, that describes the soft, dappled light that comes through leaves in a forest. There is a word in Portuguese, saudade, that describes a gentle longing for something beautiful that has passed. Perhaps we need a word for the feeling of lying on your back in the dark and seeing the galaxy and feeling all at once very small and very safe, very brief and very much a part of something endless. You don't need a word for it right now. You just need to feel it, the bigness and the safety inside the bigness. The way the universe doesn't ask anything of you. It just holds you in its field and lets you breathe and be warm and drift toward sleep. There are animals called magnetotactic bacteria, single-celled organisms so small they can only be seen through a microscope, that navigate by sensing the Earth's magnetic field. They contain chains of magnetite crystals inside them, arranged like tiny compasses, and they use these to orient themselves in their microscopic world. They are some of the simplest living things on Earth, and yet they are reading the planet's magnetic field, responding to it, navigating by it. The sensitivity to the Earth's field is not a human invention. It is a property of life itself, present even in the most ancient and simple forms. This gives a certain kind of depth to the idea of the biofield. The conversation between living things and the Earth's electromagnetic environment is not new It did not begin with complex nervous systems or hearts or brains. It began with the first organisms in the ancient oceans, perhaps 3.5 billion years ago. Every living thing since then has been embedded in this conversation. You carry that ancient relationship in your biology, in your magnetite crystals, in the electrical rhythms of your nervous system, in the way your body syncs to the day-night cycle of the rotating Earth. If you are still awake at this point, you are doing wonderfully. Just let the words wash over you like water. There is no need to hold on to any of this. Let it drift through you and settle wherever it wants to settle. And if you have a friend who finds it hard to sleep, please share this playlist with them. These stories are here for anyone who needs a quiet place to land. The concept of resonance is worth sitting with for a moment longer because it is so central to this whole story. Resonance is what happens when one vibrating thing causes another thing to vibrate at the same frequency. A tuning fork struck in a room will cause other tuning forks of the same pitch to begin vibrating too, even without being touched. The sound waves carry energy from one to the other, and the second fork, recognizing the frequency, responds. Everything has a natural frequency. The planet has one. Your brain has several. Your heart has one. Your cells have them. When these frequencies align, when the oscillations fall into step with each other, energy is exchanged more efficiently, the system becomes more coherent, and something like harmony emerges. Deep sleep is a kind of resonance. The slow, rolling waves of your sleeping brain fall into step with each other, and with the slower rhythms of the body, and in some gentle and unmeasurable way, with the rhythms of the planet. The breath, the heartbeat, the brain waves, the Schumann resonance, all of them slowing, synchronizing, settling into the same quiet time. This is the body's natural state. This is where it wants to be. You are moving toward it. Your hands are warm. Your face is soft. The breath is barely there, slow and shallow, the way it gets when you are on the edge of sleep, when the body has already decided and the mind is just catching up. Let the mind catch up. Let it follow the body into that warm, dark water where thought dissolves and rest begins. The field is holding you. The planet is turning. The stars are old and steady. You belong here. There is a kind of peace that comes when you stop trying to understand something and simply let it be. The universe does not ask to be understood. It simply is. Vast and quiet and deeply, incomprehensibly generous with its existence. Every second, trillions of neutrinos from the sun pass through your body, through the earth, through the entire planet without stopping, because they interact so weakly with ordinary matter. They are passing through you right now. Ghostly particles from the heart of the sun, carrying energy all the way from that nuclear furnace to wherever they are going, passing through you as if you were made of nothing but open space. And in a sense, you are. The atoms of your body are mostly empty space. The nucleus of an atom is unimaginably small compared to the atom itself. If you scaled an atom up to the size of a football stadium, The nucleus would be about the size of a marble at the center. The rest of the atom is mostly the field, the electromagnetic field of the electrons moving in their quantum orbits around the nucleus. What feels solid, your hands, your body, this imaginary bed in this imaginary forest, is mostly field, mostly the interaction of fields with each other. The solidity is real, but it is a property of relationships between fields, not of hard, impenetrable matter. This does not make you less real. If anything, it makes you more interesting. You are not a solid object sitting inside an empty universe. You are a complex, organized pattern of fields interacting with other fields. The Earth's field, the Sun's field, the galaxy's field, the fields of every atom of air and water and light around you. You are continuous with everything. The boundary is where you choose to draw it. In quantum physics, there is a phenomenon called entanglement, where two particles become correlated in such a way that what happens to one instantly influences the other, regardless of the distance between them. Einstein famously called this spooky action at a distance, and it troubled him deeply because it seemed to violate the idea that nothing can travel faster than light. But decades of experiments have confirmed that entanglement is real. Particles that have interacted in the past remain connected in a way that transcends ordinary distance. Now, the atoms of your body have been interacting with the atoms of the world for as long as they have existed. The iron in your blood was forged in a dying star billions of years ago, in a space that is now, in galactic terms, not very far away. The water in your cells has been in rivers, in clouds, in ancient oceans. Every atom has a history of interaction, a web of entanglements stretching back through time. The universe is not a collection of isolated particles. It is, in some deep quantum sense, a web of relationships all the way down. You exist inside that web. Your biofield, the electromagnetic envelope around your body, is your local expression of the universal field, the place where your particular pattern of life reaches out and touches the larger pattern of everything. When you breathe, you participate. When your heart beats, you participate. When you sleep, you participate, perhaps more fully than when you are awake, because in sleep, the boundaries of self relax, the field softens, the local pattern of you dissolves a little into the larger pattern of the night. There are people who have spent years studying the effects of human intention on electromagnetic fields. Some experiments have found that trained meditators can measurably influence the random output of electronic devices simply by directing their attention toward them. Focusing a kind of coherent intention and finding subtle correlations between that intention and the device's output. The results are small, reproducible in some studies, and difficult to replicate in others. And the scientific debate about their interpretation continues. But the question itself is fascinating. If the heart can produce a field that is measurable in someone else's brain, what are the limits of the field? Where does influence end? These are not questions to worry about. They are questions to wonder at. Wondering is very close to dreaming. When you let a question float in your mind without pressing it for an answer, it becomes very light, very easy to carry. Just hold the question like a smooth stone in an open palm. Feel its weight, its temperature, its shape, and then let the fingers relax and let the stone rest there, not gripped, not thrown, just held in the warmth of your hand. The Earth's core is extraordinary. At the center of the planet is a solid ball of iron and nickel about the size of the moon, surrounded by a liquid outer core of molten iron thousands of kilometers deep. The movement of this liquid iron, driven by heat flowing outward from the Earth's interior, spinning and convecting in complex patterns, generates the planet's magnetic field through a process called the geodynamo. The core has been doing this for at least 3.5 billion years, possibly longer. Without it, the Earth's surface would be exposed to the full force of the solar wind, and the atmosphere would slowly be stripped away, as has happened to Mars, which lost its core dynamo, and with it, much of its magnetic protection long ago. Mars is a dry, cold, nearly airless world today. But geological evidence suggests that billions of years ago, when its core was still active and its magnetic field was present, Mars had liquid water on its surface, rivers, possibly lakes, perhaps shallow seas. Life may have had a chance there, briefly, before the field faded. The presence of a strong planetary magnetic field is not just a scientific curiosity. It is one of the things that makes life possible. The Earth's field, generated by the slow churning of liquid iron 5,000 kilometers beneath your feet, is one of the reasons you are here. Take a moment to feel that. Beneath you, far, far beneath you, enormous rivers of liquid iron are moving in slow, convective patterns, generating the field that protects this world. You are lying on the thin, cool surface of a living planet, warmed from below high heat that has been flowing outward since the Earth formed, protected above by a magnetic shield generated by planetary physics. You are being held. You are being kept safe by forces so large and so old they barely register as anything other than the background condition of existing. If you are drifting now, that is perfect. Let the words become a gentle sound rather than a sequence of ideas. Let them be like rain on a roof, present, soft, rhythmic, not requiring anything of you except that you lie still and breathe. If you are enjoying this quiet company, a like or a comment whenever you wake up is always a warm and welcome thing to find. There are creatures called tardigrades, sometimes called water bears, that are perhaps the most resilient animals on Earth. They are microscopic, found in moss, in soil, in water, nearly everywhere. And they can survive conditions that would destroy almost any other living thing. Extreme cold, extreme heat, the vacuum of space, intense radiation. They do this by entering a state called cryptobiosis, where all metabolic processes essentially stop and the organism becomes almost completely inert, a dry, contracted little shell of a thing waiting. Inside this state, the tardigrade can survive for decades. When water returns, it rehydrates, unfolds, and begins moving and eating as if nothing happened. The tardigrade is, in a sense, a demonstration of how life holds information. In that dried, inert state, the tardigrade is not really alive, but the information of life, the pattern, the field that knows how to be a tardigrade, is preserved. When conditions are right, the pattern reasserts itself. Life is, among other things, a pattern that knows how to persist. Your body is a pattern that knows how to persist through the night. It will handle the breathing, the heartbeat, the repair and cleaning and maintenance of all its systems. All you need to do, the only thing being asked of you, is let the pattern do its work. Let the field hold itself together while consciousness takes a rest. It has done this every night of your life. It knows exactly what to do. The night is deep now, very deep. The field is calm. The breathing is slow. Somewhere far below, liquid iron is turning. Somewhere far above, ancient light is traveling. And here, in the space between those two things, you are resting, warm and small, and entirely held in the field of the living world. Close your eyes a little more. Let the weight of your eyelids be something you simply no longer resist. Let the field carry you. Water is the medium of life. This is not a metaphor, but a chemical fact. Nearly every important biological process happens in a water solution because water is the ideal environment for the molecular interactions that make life possible. It is polar, meaning one end of each water molecule carries a slight positive charge and the other a slight negative charge, which makes it extraordinarily good at dissolving other substances and at participating in chemical reactions. It is this polarity that also makes water sensitive to electric and magnetic fields in ways that other liquids are not. When water freezes into ice, it forms beautiful hexagonal crystal structures, the shapes you see in snowflakes, each one unique, each one a particular arrangement of water molecules locking into place as the temperature drops below freezing. The structure is determined partly by the conditions of cooling, partly by the presence of tiny particles in the air that give the ice crystal a nucleus to form around, and partly by quantum effects at the molecular level. A snowflake is a tiny record of a particular moment in a particular atmosphere, a frozen signature of the conditions that created it. The water inside your cells is not frozen, of course. It is warm and liquid and moving, but it is also structured, not as rigidly as ice, but in dynamic, shifting patterns that respond to the electrical environment inside the cell. Some researchers studying what they call exclusion zone water or structured water have found that water near biological surfaces behaves differently from ordinary bulk water. It is more ordered, holds more energy, and creates an electrical potential that may play a role in cell function. The water inside you is not passive. It is participating. The human body, being mostly water, is also mostly a conductor of electricity, or at least mostly a medium through which ionic currents the tiny flows of charged particles that carry nerve signals and drive muscle contractions can move. Your heartbeat is an electrical event. The signals in your nervous system are electrical events. The communication between cells involves electrical gradients. You are, in your operational details, a living electrical system, running on a medium of salt water. The ocean, too, is salt water, a vast conducting medium that carries electrical currents generated by the interaction of wind and waves with the Earth's magnetic field, and by the temperature and salinity gradients between different bodies of water. The ocean is not just a body of water. It is a dynamic electrical system that plays a role in the planet's electromagnetic environment. The ocean and your body are running similar software, so to speak. Both salt water, both electrically active, both moving in response to fields. People who live near the ocean often describe something in the air, a quality of aliveness, a freshness that feels different from inland air. Part of this may be the negative ions produced by breaking waves. When water crashes and foams, it generates a high concentration of negatively charged air molecules, negative ions. Indoor air, particularly in heated or air-conditioned spaces, tends to be ion-depleted. The air near waterfalls, near the ocean, near rain, is rich in negative ions. Some research suggests that these ions may influence mood and energy, that breathing ion-rich air has a mild, positive effect on the nervous system. Imagine ocean air now, the salt and the coolness of it. The sound of waves is very far away. Just the memory of the sound, really, a rhythm that your body recognizes even in silence. The water breathing in and out on the shore, the way you are breathing in and out right now. The wave comes, the wave goes. The breath comes, the breath goes. The rhythm is the same. You are the same as the water in this one respect, at least. You move in and out, in a steady rhythm that has been going on since you were born and will continue until the end. The moon influences the tides not just of the ocean, but of the atmosphere and, very slightly, even of the solid earth. The land itself rises and falls by a few centimeters twice a day in response to the moon's gravity. This tidal deformation of solid rock is almost imperceptible, but it is measurable. Everything is moving slightly in response to the moon. Your body, being mostly water, also experiences lunar tidal forces. They are vanishingly small, almost incalculably tiny, but they are there. The moon is always, in the smallest possible way, reaching out and pulling. Some researchers have explored connections between the lunar cycle and human biology. Women's menstrual cycles, averaging about 29 days, are close to the lunar synodic period of 29.5 days, though whether this is coincidence or ancient synchronization is debated. Sleep studies have found some evidence that sleep quality varies slightly across the lunar cycle, with sleep around the full moon being slightly less deep on average in some cohorts, though the findings are not universally replicated. The moon may influence us more subtly than the ancient calendar makers imagined, but the idea that we are connected to its cycles is not purely poetic. When you look at a full moon, your pupils contract in response to its light. Your retinal cells are firing, sending signals to your brain. Your brain is processing the image and the emotion. Something about the full moon tends to produce a quiet awe, a stillness. Part of that response is simply beauty. Part of it may be something older, a deep biological recognition of a light source that has marked time for every generation of your ancestors back to the beginning of human awareness, and before that, for every generation of creature in the long line of evolution that led to you. The night sky, seen from a place without light pollution, is one of the most powerful experiences of scale available to a human being. Thousands of stars visible to the naked eye, the faint band of the Milky Way, perhaps a planet, bright and steady, not twinkling like the stars because it is close enough to show as a disk rather than a point. The sky in that darkness is not empty. It is full, achingly full, with light and depth and the awareness of distances that cannot really be grasped, but can, for a moment, be felt. In that feeling, in the wordless awareness of enormous space, the usual preoccupations of the day simply lose their scale. Not because they don't matter, but because the sky is showing you a different frame of reference, one in which the things that felt so large are simply smaller than the stars. This is not a diminishment of your life. It is a gift of proportion, a reminder that you are a small, brief, improbably beautiful thing inside an impossibly large universe, and that both things, the smallness and the beauty, are true at the same time. If you are finding these quiet nights useful, perhaps leave a comment when the morning comes, even a simple hello. These little notes of connection are very meaningful, and the playlist is there. Any night the world feels too loud and too fast, and you need somewhere gentle to rest. The distance between atoms in a solid material is tiny, on the order of a fraction of a nanometer. But between you and the nearest star, the distances are so vast that the numbers lose all intuitive meaning. The nearest star beyond the Sun, Proxima Centauri, is about 4.2 light-years away. A light-year is the distance light travels in 1 year, which is about 9.5 trillion kilometers. 4.2 of those. The number is so large it stops meaning anything and becomes simply a word for very far. And yet, the atoms in your body and the atoms in Proxima Centauri were forged in the same cosmic processes, nucleosynthesis in stellar interiors, and are governed by the same physical laws. The electromagnetic force that holds your atoms together is the same electromagnetic force that holds Proxima Centauri's atoms together. The quantum rules that govern the electrons in your cells are the same quantum rules governing the electrons in a star 4 light-years away. Distance is real, but so is the deep identity of physical law. The universe is not many separate things. It is one thing in many forms, at many scales, in many moments of time. You are one of its forms. A brief, warm, conscious, sleeping form right now, in this particular moment of the universe's long history. Let that land softly. Let it be the last thought before thoughts stop. You are the universe resting, taking a breath, going quiet for a while. Sleep now. There is a quality to the air just before dawn that is different from any other time of day. The temperature has reached its lowest point. The darkness has been complete for hours. The world is in the deepest part of the night cycle, the place where rest is most profound. And yet, somewhere beneath the horizon, invisible to sleeping eyes, the first threads of light are beginning to gather. Not light. You can see, not yet, but the photons are already on their way. The sun is already turning toward this part of the earth. The day is already becoming. This is the moment when the body's chemistry begins to shift. Melatonin levels, which rose as darkness fell, begin to drop. Cortisol, the alertness hormone, starts to rise, very gently, very gradually, like a warm tide beginning to come in. Body temperature begins its slow climb back toward daytime levels. The brain, which has spent the night moving through cycles of deeper and lighter sleep, begins to spend more time in the lighter phases, the dreaming phase, where memory consolidates and the mind processes the day's experiences into something it can use. All of this is coordinated by the body's circadian clock, an internal timekeeper located in a tiny region of the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, just above the point where the optic nerves cross. This clock runs on a cycle of approximately 24 hours, driven by the rhythmic expression of certain genes that turn on and off in a daily cycle. When light enters the eyes in the morning, it resets and calibrates this clock to the actual solar day. When darkness comes in the evening, the clock allows melatonin to flow. Your body has been keeping time with the sun for as long as you have been alive, and the mechanism for doing so is written in your genes. The circadian clock is found in nearly every cell of the body, not just in the brain. Liver cells, muscle cells, immune cells. All of them have their own timekeeping machinery, synchronized to the master clock in the brain. Even bacteria have circadian rhythms, simpler than ours, but governed by the same basic principle: that life works best when it is in rhythm with the day-night cycle of the rotating Earth. The rotation of the Earth is not just a background fact of astronomy. It is written into the biology of every living thing on this planet's surface. The Earth takes approximately 24 hours to complete one rotation on its axis, a fact that seems obvious and ordinary until you consider what it means. The surface of the Earth at the equator is moving at about 1,670 kilometers per hour, faster than the speed of sound, just to keep up with this rotation. You cannot feel this motion because you are moving with it, and everything around you is moving with it, and the atmosphere and the oceans are moving with it. But if the Earth's rotation were to stop, or even slow significantly, the consequences would be catastrophic. The day-night cycle is not decorative, it is fundamental. The sun rises on one side of the world while it sets on the other. Right now, there is a part of the Earth where it is mid-morning, where someone is sitting in sunlight, drinking tea, beginning their day. There is another part where it is full noon, where the sun is directly overhead and shadows are shortest. There is another part where it is late afternoon, where the light is turning golden and long. All of these are happening simultaneously because the earth is a sphere and the sun illuminates half of it at any moment. You, in your darkness, are on the half that is turned away. You are on the quiet side of the world. There is something deeply comforting about knowing that while you rest, the sun-facing side of the planet is attending to all the things that daylight does. And while that side is bright, you are in the protected dark, being held in the electromagnetic shadow of the planet itself. The magnetotail, the long streamer of the Earth's magnetic field that stretches away from the sun on the night side of the planet. You are resting in the shelter of the planet's magnetic wake. The solar wind presses against the Earth's field on the day side and flows around it. And on the night side, where you are, the field stretches out long and calm, like hair streaming in a slow current. The magnetotail extends far into space, hundreds of Earth radii behind the planet. It is a dynamic structure connected at one end to the polar regions of the Earth and stretching outward into the solar wind. Occasionally, energy stored in the magnetotail is suddenly released in a process called magnetic reconnection, and this energy flows along the field lines toward the poles, driving the auroras that paint the night sky in green and white and pink. The aurora is the visible expression of the magnetotail releasing its accumulated energy. A sigh of electromagnetic relief, luminous and silent. You are in the magnetotail right now. The field lines passing through your room extend outward into space, curving back around the planet, part of the great magnetic architecture that makes this world habitable. Your own biofield is embedded in this much larger field, a tiny thread in an enormous tapestry that extends from the core of the Earth to the edge of the magnetosphere, the boundary where the Earth's field meets the solar wind and holds its own against the constant pressure of the sun. The boundary of the magnetosphere on the day side is called the magnetopause. It is the place where the Earth's magnetic field exactly balances the pressure of the solar wind, a dynamic boundary that moves closer or farther from the Earth, depending on how intense the solar wind is at any given moment. During a powerful solar storm, the magnetopause can be pushed inward significantly, compressing the Earth's field. During quiet periods, it expands. The boundary breathes in and out in response to the sun's activity. The planet has a breath too. Everything breathes. The Earth breathes in its daily tidal deformation, rising and falling with the moon's gravity. It breathes in its annual orbit around the sun, coming closer and moving farther in the slow ellipse of the year. The sun breathes in its 11-year cycle of activity, from solar minimum to solar maximum and back again, affecting the electromagnetic environment of the whole solar system. The galaxy breathes in its much longer cycles of star formation and stellar death. Everything, at some scale, oscillates, pulsates, cycles. You are part of this breathing. Your 37 trillion cells are cycling. Your organs are cycling. Your hormones are cycling. Your sleep itself is cycling through its stages right now, REM and non-REM, lighter and deeper, each cycle about 90 minutes long, each cycle doing its own specific work of restoration and consolidation. You are inside many cycles simultaneously, and all of them, in their different ways, are participating in the larger cycles of the world. If you are still here, gently present, not quite asleep and not quite awake. That threshold state is a beautiful place, the hypnagogic state, scientists call it. In that state, the boundary between waking and dreaming becomes soft, and the mind sometimes offers up images and sensations of unusual clarity, vivid scenes, half-formed thoughts, the sense of falling or floating. These are simply the brain in transition, the fields reorganizing, the patterns of waking consciousness relaxing into the more diffuse patterns of sleep. Let them come. Let them go. They are just the field moving, a gentle reminder that there are many more of these quiet nights in the Sleepy Science playlist. Stories about forests and rain, about birds and stones, about the deep ocean and the slow drift of clouds. If you find yourself wanting more of this kind of company on a sleepless night, it is there. Let the breathing be the only thing, not thinking about the breathing, just being inside it. The cool air coming in, the warm air going out, the pause between, the brief, beautiful stillness at the bottom of the breath, where nothing is moving, where everything is gathered, where the body is for just a moment completely quiet. The Buddhists call this the gap, the space between thoughts, between breaths, between heartbeats. In the gap, there is nothing to do. There is only presence. Be in the gap. Let it widen. Let the next breath come in its own time. Trust that it will come. It always has, every breath of your life. Not one missed, not one delayed. The body knows. The field knows. The stars are steady above the clouds. The earth is turning slowly. The field is holding everything in its quiet arms. And you, small and warm in the dark, are exactly where you belong. Let's travel very gently into the quietest corner of what is known about living light. Not the light of candles or stars, but the light that living cells make themselves. Biophotons, those faint particles of light released as a byproduct of metabolic processes inside every living cell. They are so dim that you would need to sit in an absolutely dark room with extremely sensitive photon counting equipment for several minutes before you could detect them. And yet, they are there, produced by every cell and every living thing, including you. What makes biophotons particularly interesting to some researchers is not just that cells produce them, but that they seem to be produced in organized, coherent patterns rather than randomly. The biophotonic emissions of healthy cells are different in character from those of stressed or diseased cells. Some scientists have proposed that biophotons may be involved in intercellular communication. That cells use these faint flickers of light to coordinate with each other across small distances, supplementing the chemical and electrical signals that are better understood. This is still speculative, and the debate continues, but the idea that your body is communicating internally in light is worth holding gently in the imagination. If every cell is emitting its own faint light, and if those emissions are organized and patterned rather than random, then the body as a whole is something like a coherent light source, very dim, but internally organized in a way that reflects the body's state. A body at rest, in deep calm, with well-functioning cells, would emit a different quality of biophotonic pattern from a body under stress or illness. The light of you changes with how you are. Right now, the light of you is settling, calming, growing quieter and more coherent as the muscles relax and the nervous system quiets and the metabolic activity of the day-active cells begins to slow. Your biophotonic field is becoming more still. You are literally dimming, not in a diminishing way, but in the way that a lamp does when you turn the dial toward rest, when the room is ready for sleep and bright light is no longer needed. The concept of the biofield, as scientists use it today, encompasses several kinds of phenomena. The electromagnetic fields produced by the heart and brain, the biophotonic emissions of cells, the ionic fields created by the movement of charged particles in biological tissues, and possibly other subtle phenomena not yet fully characterized. What unifies them is that they are all fields, regions of space where forces are distributed and where physical effects occur, and they are all generated by living biological processes. The biofield is the field that life makes. Some researchers in the field of integrative medicine are exploring whether therapies that work with the biofield, things like acupuncture, therapeutic touch, and various forms of energy medicine, are influencing these measurable fields or working through other mechanisms. The scientific investigation is ongoing and the findings are mixed, but the underlying question, can the body be influenced through its own field, is a serious scientific one, not a fringe idea. The body's fields are real. They respond to external fields, and they influence the body's physiology. There is an old tradition in many cultures of laying on of hands, of a healer placing their hands on or near the body of someone who is unwell, and of something being exchanged. From a biofield perspective, this is interesting because the hands are one of the most biophotonically and electromagnetically active parts of the body. The fingertips in particular have high concentrations of touch receptors and nerve endings, and they are warm, meaning they are metabolically active and biophotonically bright. When a person places their warm hands near another person, two biofields are coming close together. Whether this has therapeutic significance is a question science is still working on. But the intimacy of it, the warmth of it, the care embedded in the gesture, those are real. Your own hands lying warm beside you right now, feel them, the warmth inside them, the quiet pulse at the base of your palm where the artery passes close to the skin, the subtle sense of aliveness in the fingers, even at rest. Each hand is a biofield all by itself, warm and softly glowing, with the biophotons of millions of living cells vibrating gently with the electromagnetic signature of your heartbeat, pulsing quietly at a frequency that is yours alone. The mitochondria in your cells are ancient. They were once free-living bacteria. This is well-established science. The endosymbiotic theory proposed by Lynn Margulis in the 1960s and now broadly accepted. About 2 billion years ago, a large cell engulfed a smaller bacterium, and instead of digesting it, the two formed a partnership. The bacterium became the mitochondrion, the power generator of the cell. Every mitochondrion in your body is the descendant of that ancient bacterial partner. You are not one organism in a sense. You are a collaborative community of different lineages living together in a relationship that has been going on for 2 billion years. This means that when you breathe in oxygen and your mitochondria use it to produce energy, you are participating in a relationship that predates the appearance of complex life on Earth. The mitochondria were breathing oxygen when the Earth's atmosphere was very young, when the oceans were iron-rich, and the sky was still getting used to the oxygen that early photosynthetic bacteria were releasing into it. You carry inside every cell the descendants of those ancient breathers. The breath you take now is 2 billion years in the making. There are an estimated 100 billion neurons in the human brain, roughly the same number as the stars in the Milky Way galaxy, which is a comparison that has been made many times and somehow never gets old. These neurons are connected to each other by an estimated 100 trillion synapses, connections where one neuron can send a signal to another. The complexity of the human brain is greater than the complexity of any other known object in the universe. Your sleeping brain, with its slow delta waves rolling across this incomprehensible network, is the most complex thing in the known cosmos taking a rest. It deserves the rest. The work it does is astonishing. To recognize a face, to understand a sentence, to feel an emotion, to have a memory. Each of these involves the coordinated activity of billions of neurons, firing in patterns so complex that we have barely begun to understand them. The field of the sleeping brain, quieter, more organized, washing itself clean, is the field of all this complexity in repose. Let it rest. Let yourself, somewhere inside that complex field, dissolve just a little, not into nothing, just into less definition. Let the sharp edges of today's self, the to-do lists, the plans, the worries, the identity, soften at the margins like a watercolor painting left in the rain. The essential pattern of you remains. The field holds its information, but the tension of maintaining the sharp edges can relax. If you would like to support this channel and help it reach more people who need a quiet night, a like or a subscription is the simplest and most appreciated gift. And the full playlist of sleepy science stories is just one click away, each one a different corner of the natural world, each one an invitation to breathe and rest. The atmosphere above you contains not just air, but a living electrical system. At any given moment, there are approximately 2,000 thunderstorms active somewhere on Earth, collectively striking the ground about 100 times per second. Each lightning bolt briefly superheats a column of air to temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun, producing a shock wave, thunder, and generating electromagnetic radiation across a broad spectrum. The combined effect of all this lightning is a continuous electromagnetic background that includes the Schumann resonances, a steady electromagnetic soundtrack of the planet's electrical weather. You cannot hear this frequency. It is far too low for human ears, but it is there, and your body is inside it, and the sleeping brain resonates at comparable frequencies. You are in rhythm with the Earth's lightning without knowing it. The storms are there, and so are you, and the frequency connects you. The night is full and warm. The field is steady. All is well. The Amazon rainforest produces its own weather. The trees of the Amazon transpire. They release water vapor through tiny pores in their leaves at such enormous rates that they collectively generate a kind of aerial river of moisture that flows eastward across the continent. Scientists have estimated that the Amazon forest recycles this moisture multiple times in a cycle of evaporation and rainfall that moves water from the Atlantic coast to the distant interior, thousands of kilometers inland, in a chain of evaporation and rainfall events that the trees themselves are sustaining. Without the trees, the interior of the continent would be much drier. The forest is not just growing in the weather, it is making the weather. This is a beautiful example of what biologists and Earth system scientists call a feedback loop, a process where the activity of living things changes the environment in ways that support more life. The trees release moisture. The moisture falls as rain. The rain supports more trees. The forest is a self-sustaining field of life, generating its own conditions for existence. You could say the forest is dreaming itself into being, moment by moment, precipitation by precipitation. Your body does something similar. The cells of your body create the conditions for each other's survival. The red blood cells carry oxygen to the cells that need it. The liver processes the waste products of other cells. The immune cells patrol for disturbances and respond to protect the whole. The nervous system coordinates the activity of all the organs. Each part is sustaining the conditions for the other parts. You are a self-sustaining field, dreaming itself into being, heartbeat by heartbeat. When you breathe out, the carbon dioxide you release goes back into the air, where it will be taken up by plants and used in photosynthesis to make sugars. The carbon in your breath becomes, in time, part of a leaf, part of a fruit, part of the cell wall of a grass plant on a hillside somewhere. The carbon that was in your body becomes part of the living world again, cycling through plants and animals and soil and air in the slow, elegant loop that has been going on since the first carbon-based life appeared on Earth. You are made of cycles. You are a temporary configuration of matter and energy that is constantly cycling through you and onward. The air you breathe, the water in your cells, the carbon in your tissues, all of it on temporary loan from the larger cycles of the planet, passing through you on its way to being something else. The you-ness of you is not the matter, which is always changing. The you-ness is the pattern, the field, the organizing principle that keeps the matter in this particular arrangement for the years of your life. Coral reefs are living structures built by tiny animals called coral polyps, each one smaller than your fingernail. The polyps secrete calcium carbonate, limestone, and over years and decades and millennia, these individual secretions build up into the vast, complex architectures of a reef. The Great Barrier Reef off the coast of Australia is over 2,300 kilometers long and can be seen from space. It is the largest living structure on Earth, built by animals, each one of which could sit comfortably on the tip of your finger. The reef is an ecosystem, a field of life, thousands of species of fish, invertebrates, algae, bacteria, each one playing a role in the functioning of the whole. The coral polyps are in a symbiotic relationship with single-celled algae called zooxanthellae, which live inside the coral tissue and provide much of the coral's energy through photosynthesis. The reef is not just made of coral. It is a community of interdependence, a web of mutual support, a living field in which nothing is truly independent and everything is in some way connected to everything else. You live inside something like a reef. The community of microorganisms in your gut, your microbiome, contains trillions of bacteria, fungi, and other microbes, representing hundreds of species. These organisms are not intruders or parasites. They are partners. They help digest food, produce vitamins, train the immune system, and communicate with the nervous system through chemical signals that travel via the gut-brain axis, influencing mood, cognition, and even sleep. When your microbiome is diverse and healthy, you are diverse and healthy. When it is disturbed, you feel the disturbance. You are a reef. The gut-brain axis is one of the most exciting areas of current neuroscience. The gut has its own nervous system. The enteric nervous system, sometimes called the second brain, which contains about 200 to 600 million neurons, more than the spinal cord. This second brain can operate independently of the brain in the skull, and it communicates bidirectionally with the brain above via the vagus nerve, one of the longest nerves in the body. Much of what you feel as emotion may begin in the gut. That gut feeling is not a metaphor, but a description of genuine neurological events happening in your belly. When you are calm and resting, the vagus nerve is active. This is sometimes called the rest and digest mode, in contrast to the fight or flight mode of the sympathetic nervous system. The vagus nerve carries the signal of safety from the brain to the gut, and from the gut back to the brain, back to. It slows the heart, promotes digestion, encourages immune function, and supports the sense of ease and connection that we associate with deep relaxation. You are probably in vagal tone right now, resting, breathing slowly, the nervous system in its most receptive and restorative state. The forest at night is also in a kind of rest and restore mode. The trees, no longer photosynthesizing in the dark, are drawing on their stored reserves, conducting the slower metabolic work of nighttime, moving water and nutrients, responding to damage, preparing for the light that will come. The forest floor is alive with decomposers in the dark, fungi, bacteria, millipedes, beetles, doing the quiet work of returning dead matter to soil. The night forest is full of invisible life, recycling and restoring so that the day can begin clean. You are part of this nighttime ecology of restoration. Your body in sleep is doing the work that the day is too busy for, cleaning the brain, repairing cells, consolidating memory, restoring hormonal balance, refreshing the immune system. Sleep is not the absence of activity. It is a different kind of activity, quieter, deeper, more restorative. The night shift. This playlist carries many nights of gentle company, forests, oceans, rain, birds, stars, and the quiet science of how everything is connected. If you haven't yet explored all of it, there are many soft hours waiting for you there. And a kind comment when you wake is always like sunlight on the channel. The dew that forms on grass in the early morning is water that has come from the air, water vapor that chilled as the night temperatures dropped and condensed on the cool surfaces of leaves and spiderwebs and stones. It is one of the smallest water cycles, a tiny local expression of the great hydrological cycle that moves water around the planet. Each dewdrop catching the first light of morning is a perfect small world, a sphere of water holding a distorted reflection of the sky. So much in one small thing, the whole sky in a drop. You are something like that too, a small sphere of organized life, holding inside yourself a reflection of the universe that made you, its chemistry, its physics, its deep biological history. The universe looking at itself through your particular eyes, in your particular body, in this particular dark and quiet night. The night is very deep now, very still. The field around you is calm and coherent. The breath is slow. The heart is steady. The brain is beginning to let go of the last threads of the day. Let them go. They will be there in the morning. The day will begin again, new. But for now, there is only this breath and this warmth and the quiet, vast field of everything holding you. Drift now. You are safe. There are forests in Japan where people go simply to be, not to exercise, not to study the trees, but just to sit among them and breathe the air. The practice is called Shinrin-yoku, which translates roughly as forest bathing. It is not metaphorical. The air of a forest, particularly a dense, old-growth forest, is physically different from urban air. It contains phytoncides, volatile organic compounds released by trees as part of their defense against insects and pathogens. When you breathe forest air, you're inhaling these compounds, and they have measurable effects on the body. Lower cortisol, slower heart rate, increased activity of natural killer cells in the immune system, a calming of the nervous system. The trees are not trying to heal you. They are managing their own chemistry for their own reasons. But your body, encountering these ancient compounds that have been in the air of forests since long before human beings existed, recognizes them. The immune system responds. The nervous system quiets. Something in you relaxes that may not have even known it was tense, because the tension of the city, the absence of forest air, had become your baseline without your noticing. This is what baseline means in science. The default state that you have stopped noticing because you have grown so accustomed to it. We are often unaware of our electromagnetic baselines, our chemical baselines, our sensory baselines, until they change. When you lie down in a quiet room and breathe slowly and let a gentle voice describe the forest, something shifts in that baseline. The nervous system recognizes the invitation to slow down, and it accepts it. The oldest trees in the world are remarkable. A great basin, bristlecone pine named Methuselah, growing in the White Mountains of California, is estimated to be about 4,850 years old, meaning it was already ancient when the Egyptian pyramids were young. It has survived nearly 5,000 years of wind, drought, cold, and the slow passage of time by growing extremely slowly and being extremely dense. The wood of old bristlecone pines is so resinous and so hard that it resists decay even after death. Some of the dead wood around Methuselah's living trunk has been there for tens of thousands of years. Standing near such a tree, if you were to stand near such a tree, the feeling is not unlike the feeling of looking at the night sky. A sense of proportion, of perspective, of your own brief life set against something much older. Not a diminishment, but an expansion. The tree is 5,000 years old and still making seeds, still photosynthesizing, still growing, however slowly. Life persists. It finds a way. It is patient in ways that the human mind can barely conceive. Time moves differently at different biological scales. A mayfly lives for one day as an adult. A Greenland shark, recently discovered to potentially live for several hundred years, moves through its vast cold ocean on a metabolic pace so slow that its every heartbeat corresponds to many minutes of human time. A bristlecone pine growing a millimeter of new wood each year experiences centuries the way you experience months. The universe operates at all these timescales simultaneously. The brief flash of the mayfly and the centuries of the pine and the billions of years of the stars all happening at once, all part of the same single unfolding event. Your sleeping brain, in its nightly work of memory consolidation, is compressing time in a similar way, deciding what from the day to keep and what to let fade, filing the important things into long-term storage, releasing the ephemeral details back into the general noise of experience. This editing of time, this curation of memory, is one of the most profound things the sleeping brain does. You wake up lighter, in a sense, than you went to sleep. The unnecessary things have been released. The essential pattern of your experience has been refined. The electromagnetic fields of the brain during sleep reflect this process. The slow wave sleep stages, the deep sleep of delta waves, are associated with memory consolidation, with the hippocampus replaying the day's experiences and sending them to the cortex for long-term storage. The dreaming stages, REM sleep, are associated with emotional processing, with the integration of new experience into the existing framework of meaning. The brain at night is not idle. It is actively constructing you, refining the narrative of self, editing the archive, preparing the person who will wake up tomorrow. Who you will wake up as tomorrow has been partly determined by what happens to your brain tonight. This is not a frightening thought. It is a beautiful one. The sleep is not just rest. It is creation. You are being created gently in the dark by the quiet work of your own brain. There are bioluminescent organisms in the ocean that produce their own light through chemical reactions. Dinoflagellates, certain jellyfish, deep sea fish, firefly squid. When disturbed in the dark water, dinoflagellates flash blue, a defense mechanism that may startle predators or attract larger predators that will eat whoever disturbed them. At night, a boat moving through certain tropical waters will leave a trail of blue fire, the wake of the vessel setting off millions of tiny flashes in the water behind it, the ocean glowing with life. This underwater light is one of the most otherworldly sights on Earth. Luminous blue-green fire in dark water, produced not by electricity or chemistry from outside, but by the metabolism of living things, by the same basic biochemical machinery that produces the biophotons in your own cells, scaled up into something large enough for human eyes to see. When the ocean glows, it is showing you what is happening invisibly at the cellular level all around you and inside you all the time. Life makes light, always. You are glowing. If these nights of gentle science are giving you something, rest or peace or just the pleasure of quiet company, it would mean a great deal if you left a small like before you sleep. And the playlist is there, as always, full of other soft corners of the natural world waiting to be visited. The night side of the Earth, seen from space, is not completely dark. Cities glow orange and white. Archipelagos of human light scattered across the dark continents and coastlines. The oceans between them are mostly dark. The Sahara Desert is mostly dark. The deep forests of the Amazon and Congo are mostly dark. But in the connected corridors of human settlement, the night glows with our light, an electromagnetic signature of civilization that a distant observer with the right instruments could read as evidence of life. We are, among other things, a species that makes light. We have pushed back the darkness with fire, with candles, with gas lamps, and now with the electric glow that follows us everywhere. This is not entirely without cost. Light pollution affects the sleep of millions of people, disorients migrating birds, confuses sea turtle hatchlings, but it is also extraordinary, evidence of a consciousness that finds the dark difficult and the light beautiful, that wants to see and be seen. Right now, let the light go. Let the darkness be complete, or nearly complete, in whatever room you're in. The darkness is not empty. It is full of field, the Earth's field, the room's field, your own biofield, the ancient photons of the universe arriving from everywhere at once. The darkness is full. The darkness is home. Let it hold you now, as it has held every sleeping thing on this planet since before there were things that could know they were being held. You are held. The field is whole. The night is good. Sleep. Rain is one of the most reliably calming sounds in the world. Researchers who study what are called autonomic responses, the unconscious reactions of the nervous system, have found that the sound of rain reliably shifts the autonomic nervous system toward a more parasympathetic state. Lower heart rate, slower breath, reduced muscle tension, a general settling. This is not cultural, it is biological. The sound of rain has been in the background of human sleep for as long as there have been humans, and before that, for as long as there have been land animals with ears. It is one of the oldest lullabies. Part of what makes rain so calming may be its randomness. Each raindrop hits a surface at a slightly different time, in a slightly different way, creating a texture of sound that is irregular and unpredictable in its details, but consistent in its overall quality. This is what scientists call stochastic resonance, the beneficial effect of a certain kind of random noise on complex systems. The brain, processing the irregular but consistent sound of rain, enters a kind of relaxed attentiveness, present but not alert, aware but not active. It is a state that is very close to the edge of sleep. Water falling from clouds has traveled an extraordinary distance and through many transformations to reach the earth. It began as ocean water, lifted by the sun's heat into vapor, carried by wind over land, condensed around a tiny particle of dust or sea salt into a droplet, joined a billion other droplets in a cloud, and finally fell, pulled by gravity on a journey that takes minutes from cloud to ground. In those minutes, a raindrop falls through several kilometers of atmosphere, gathering the chemical signatures of the air it passes through, becoming a small alchemical product of ocean and sun and wind and dust. The universe, meanwhile, has not changed. The stars have moved because the earth has been turning, slowly, steadily, at the same rate it has turned every night for 4.5 billion years. The constellations visible at midnight are different from those visible at dawn, as the earth rotates you through different portions of sky. This is true wherever you are on the planet. The sky is different from 1 hour to the next, not because the stars are moving, but because you are turning, always turning, on the spinning sphere that is your home. There is warmth in the dark. There is safety in the field. There is nothing required of you now except to breathe and to let the night hold you as gently as it holds the stars. Everything is well. Everything is whole. Everything is held in a field that has no edge and no beginning and no end. Sweet dreams. And when you wake, know that the sleepy science channel will be here with more quiet nights, more gentle science, more soft corners of the natural world to rest in. The playlist is waiting, full of slow hours and easy ideas and the steady company of a world that is, at its heart, extraordinarily peaceful. Good night.